welcome Dr. Kishore Indukuri, founder of Six Farm. He has started his company with the aim of providing natural milk which is free from all chemical related processing. He has made very good progress, one of the progressive startups in our group. We are happy that he is part of our ecosystem. He is and one of our RKV Raftar Incubati. He has been here guiding all the startups in especially dairy sector. He made very good progress. He is employing close to 150 200 delivery boys. Moreover, he has a state-of-art facility where he is focusing on agro-tourism also to encourage dairy farming, and he is encouraging school students, schools as well as fellow entrepreneurs showing through agro-tourism. On this note, we welcome Dr. Kishore for the session. Sir, to give a brief background about our participants today, we have our senior level and mid-senior level government officials here with us today from KVKs and agriculture departments across India.
Sir, first of all, thank you for the opportunity. I was just scrolling through the list of participants. I see many doctors, I see many KVKY managers, and a lot of esteemed guests and visitors. This is just a a story of our journey and our experiences. We are learning every day. I think one thing we have done over the past few years, right? If I have to, put it in a word, we have never given up. I've come into this field without knowing anything, but as a team with a group of people, we have persisted. We've taken up one problem that needs to be solved and go at it, and that is what made us come at least this while in the journey. So I'll share a few notes, from our dairy setup itself, the dairy farm itself. I think the focus today is on dairy farming. So that is how we started. So basically, this is, I just want to spend a few minutes talking about our journey into dairy farming. As I said, our journey started with somebody, I come from a material science background, and that is where I spent about 15 years or so studying material science and polymeric materials. Our journey started with, doing something in agri, with a desire to do something in agriculture and dairy. So that is how our journey started. So essentially we started with books, right? So I pretty much started with a book that was co-published by NABARD. And, we started with, reading about how to buy cows, right? There was a business model, Excel business model, which I'll share in my slide 4, which we thought, was a very profitable business model. I mean, that is where we started with. But, to sort of start the business model, we had to buy our cows. So my journey started with first reading about how to, buy a cow, right? What are the features I should look for in an animal when I choose the right animal? And that is essentially how our journey started, right from a book. Maybe I'll start with, the different revenue sources. So dairy farm with few animals, right? With anywhere from 5 to 50 animals, right? You need to have a grass growing operations. So the rule of thumb is for every 5 cows or 5 buffaloes, you need 1 acre of grass growing activity, so that can provide grass for the entire year. So you need to have, and you need to start growing grass before you start a dairy farm. And that is where we started with a leased facility where we took land on lease. We started growing our grass. And as suggested, we went with Napiers and Super Napier. That is what we started with, started growing. And the different revenue sources as you start to do this, right? One is milk and milk product sale, right? That is obviously the main one that everybody focuses on, and that we also focus on. This is our primary revenue source. The second revenue source in dairy farming that you can take up is once you start having enough production of your Super Napier, you can have take these clippings and you can sell those clippings and raise some revenue. Another way that you can also raise money is if you're able to bring up a good offspring, right, heifers, then you can also sell them to other farmers and generate money. Obviously, this will only start in case of cows after 3 years once you set up a dairy farm, and for buffaloes about 4 years for your offspring to grow and then able to generate money from you. Things that you could do there are, if you at your own farm, you can provide this as a service to other farmers around, and you can generate some money from AI. Also, you can bring in sorted semen and other good practices, and you can also provide that as a service to the neighboring farmers as well. Another thing that we do is dairy tourism. This has come more as a requirement for us because we wanted to generate the required trust with our customers for our milk and milk products sale. We bring in a lot of our customers to our farm. Have them spend time at the farm. We do night grazing activities. We put up tents like this and have farmers come spend time and have kids come. We bring a lot of school children also. We make our customers milk our cows. We show them the entire process end to end, including giving a tour of our processing facility. So in whatever capacity a dairy farmer can do this. I've heard of a lot of such activities that happen in the Maharashtra area where people bring in, a customer can walk into a place, they get a full meal or a couple of meals, and they charge them about 2,000 rupees or so per visit. So there's a lot of money there is to be generated. A lot of the city folks are interested in spending time because they want to get back to the nature. They want to spend time at farms. So you can involve them in meaningful activities. If you are short of people when you're putting grass, you can actually invite farmers to plant the seedlings for you. So there are a lot of activities that you can do to engage customers or any potential clients. The second thing that is also recently starting to pick up is you can also monetize your gobar and cow dung. So one well-known source is selling vermicompost, which we also do. Along with that, we've recently started making cow dung logs, right? These are logs that can be used in industrial boilers for hot water generation. I mean, you can sell it pretty much in a number of places. You can mix sawdust or some other rice bran or some other material with it, and you can make logs like these. So this is also, you can also make fertilizer from gobar cow dung. This is another area that can generate a lot of revenue for a dairy farm as well. Right. So maybe when you start, you are not able, you probably won't be able to focus on all these activities at the same time. But as you start to grow, you can, once you mastered one area, then you can move on to the other areas and pick up each one and make your dairy farming venture itself profitable. Our journey itself, we initially did a lot of focus on our milk sale. Initially, we were selling our milk in bulk. I still remember the first sale that we did. We sold our milk during an especially bad season for 15 rupees a liter, right? Our costs were at 30 rupees a liter initially when we started, right? And all we were able to sell it was 15 rupees a liter, right? So that's when we decided we wanted to sell it direct to customers. So this is something that we've started doing. So we sell our milk direct to customers, and we were able to get a little bit more money than when you're able to sell in bulk to another dairy. We do a lot of dairy tourism also. We generate some money from this activity. We've just started to focus on doing vermicompost and cow dung logs. We sell our vermicompost on Amazon and all the other channels as well. The cow dung logs, we wish to sell in the local market for our own heat generation purposes. We intend to use this. Like I said, one of the important things for a dairy farm, we felt from our experiences to actually produce fodder at the lowest cost possible. If you are close to a water belt where you have abundant water and you can grow ample amount of grass, this can definitely work in your favor. And also if there are any people who want to do dairy farming, sow your grass before you buy your animals, because it takes about 2 months to do it. It's very expensive to buy grass once you bring in your animals. So you definitely sow your grass 2 months before. You can always sell your grass if there is any delay in bringing animals onto the site. And spend as little money as possible on sheds itself. This is something that I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs do. This they put in a lot of their investment upfront into building really big sheds and really expensive sheds. Conserve your cash. Our first sheds that we built were out of survey sticks and silpoline sheets. That is how we started. Once we felt that our dairy farming itself can work, then we shifted to doing slightly permanent structures. So it's important to conserve your upfront cash. So I would advise definitely using money initially in a very judicious manner. Along the journey, we also set up low-cost protein sources. As you know, Dana, when we started our dairy farming, Dana was costing us about 15 rupees a kg. Today, I know it is anywhere at 25 rupees a kg, right? Your cotton cake, your wheat bran, all of them, right? If you generally average the cost of concentrated feed, it has gone up significantly, whereas the price of milk has not gone up so much, right? At least 50% increase in your concentrated feeds, but milk price has not gone up so much. Right? So it's important to set up low-cost ways of generating your concentrated feed. We've figured out ways to do this doing this at a low cost. So at our farm, we've set up Ajola ponds. So this pond that you can see in the picture, this pond, we set it up for ourselves as well as our farmers in our network. It is just a line of bricks, just one line of bricks and a silpoline sheet. This costs us about 1,500 rupees and gives us about close to 30 kgs of Ajola. The cost of growing Ajola like this is anywhere from 3 to 5 rupees a kg. And you can feed up to 1 kg per animal per day. So this brings down the cost of concentrated feed, right? So along with your 25 rupees per kg concentrated feed, if you can add a kg of this, it'll reduce the cost. The other thing that we also started doing, now today SITS Farm works with about 1,000 farmers. As a practice, because we believe this is giving us really good results, we started doing this aggressively with our farmers as well. So every farmer who gives us milk, we actually construct these ponds for them in the villages where our farmers are present. Right? So another thing that we also started experimenting with are Sesbania, Moringa, Gliricidia, and Subabul. Right, so we're starting to grow these and give these leaves to our animals and see if we can also do this. This is another low-cost way of growing tree fodder. Right, as you know, Moringa's benefits are well documented. It has all the amino acids. It has enough calcium in it. Right, so we grow each of these in lines. One line for Sesbania, one line for Moringa, one line for Gliricidia, and one line for Subabul. And we harvest all the leaves and give it as a fodder to animals. Okay. So this is something that once we were able to study this in a little bit of detail, we want to do it on a slightly larger scale at our own farm as well as for our farmers. So these are some pictures again. This is a picture of our dairy farm. This is one of our Napier growing areas. This is a grass chopping machine to cut fodder into small pieces. So there is no wastage of fodder. I'm sure you've seen, all of you have seen pictures of this. This is a close-up of our Ajola growing belt, Ajola growing pond. These are our vermicompost pits. This one we're looking at, we don't own this yet, but this is a tool to basically, this is an ultrasound tool to basically assess and see if an animal is pregnant, whether the baby is there in the animal. Today it takes about 3 months to know whether the calf is there in the baby or in the cow or not. With this, you can get that data. You can know about that within 25 days. So for a farmer, it saves valuable time if you're able to predict this within a short span of time. This is just a simple business model that we put together. The reason I put this together because this is not exhaustive. This is what initially we started with, right? This is what we thought we'll be able to do. This is how our business will generate money, is what we thought. This is a simple sheet. If you start with line item, this it just talks about the cost of animals. Some of these numbers are not accurate because this was when we started this activity. So today the cows cost a little more than this. Today, I think the cost of cows is anywhere from 65 to 70,000. So I just put together the initial business model that we started with. So it is a simple way of calculating what it would cost to start this business, and then how much would it cost for labor and number of acres, right? So here the assumption was if you have 50 animals, 7 acres of land would be sufficient for the 50 animals, right? With the knowledge that we have, we think we should have at least 10 acres now. At least 10 acres is probably needed now. And then the feed cutting machine, bore wells, and what is the infrastructure square feet per animal that you need, right? We put 40 square feet per animal is the size that you need, the space that you need, 10 feet by 4 feet. You can do with a little bit less square footage per animal, but what is the cost of construction? How much do you intend? Again, the construction cost we put here was 250 rupees. But if you're not careful, you can spend a whole lot more money on this. And I would advise you to be careful here. Milking equipment, if you're using milking machines, what is the cost of it? The marketing thing. And then we were able to work out through a simple Excel, what is the investment per animal for basically getting the feed, and then for the infrastructure, what would it cost? In terms of milking equipment, what is the investment per animal? And if you add all these together, you can see that when we started with 45,000, but it actually, if you consider all the investments, it actually came to 98,000 per animal. You can decide to take away some. If you want to do manual milking, you can take away this cost. So depending on what you plan to do, you can take away some costs if you want. And then in the sheet below, this is the operating expenses. Here we were calculating cost per animal per year for concentrated feed. As I said, this is when we started our dairy farming activity, where the concentrated feed was still very low in price. Now it is anywhere from 20 to 25 rupees per kg. And breeding costs, veterinary services cost, insurance, and the labor costs, and we were able to put together the cost per animal per year. And all the other expenses, as I said, we took our initial land on lease. So what is the lease cost? Any other costs? And if you look at this number, right, this is where we started with. It shows a big number, right? It says 52% net operating profit. As most of the people in dairy farming know, this number definitely is good on paper, but it is not true when you actually run a dairy farm, right? So, and it also says whatever capital you put in, it will come back to you in 1.3 years, right? I think a lot of the dairy farmers like me, can attest to the fact that this is not true. It takes a lot longer because there are other hidden costs that you don't realize when you start this activity. But as I said, you can put this sheet together for your own activity and then fine tune it every year, right? You can actually change it every year based on the real numbers that you generate from your activity. So this is a simple business model that we put together. So that is where we started with. And, what do we do today? Dr. Saravanan Raj sir said, and Yuvraj sir introduced. So we sell 100% pure tested milk without any preservatives, antibiotics, and hormones. We have a model farm of about 100 animals along with a network of farmers. We work with about close to 1,000 farmers now. We extensively test our milk because it's not just our own milk now, but we also get it from a group of farmers from varying distances. So we test our milk extensively. We deliver our milk direct to our customers via an app. And as a part of this activity, we do a lot of dairy and agro-tourism. We spend a lot of time educating our customers. So essentially, these are pictures where we bring in schools, we bring in customers. We make milk and dairy interesting for people, right? This helps us in innumerable ways. This is something that cannot be quantified just from the sale of a ticket. We hire people also. We hire great people also via this. a lot of interest, a lot of goodwill gets generated for us from this activity. One customer who you understands what we do, what we talk to, right, can go and tell this to about 100 people, and that becomes a great word of mouth marketing. So this is something that that has also been extensively covered in the media, in the last few years. That is all I have. If there are any questions, I can. I know this is in no means exhaustive. There is a lot of documentation available online about dairy farming. There are any questions, I can take it up and answer them. Yes, sir.
You have started with selling of cows.
Selling of cow milk. Selling of milk, sir.
Acha, not cows.
Not cows, sir.
So this can be a second thought.
Yes,
just
sir.
to take the heifer.
Yes, sir.
Get it pregnant and sell.
Yes, sir.
How it can be an entrepreneur if some farmer is interested, marginal farmer is there and he wanted to do like this? How it can work? Or you have no idea about it?
Sir, we do sell our cows, sir, because we only have the capacity to house about 80 animals and 20 calves. So more calves are generated. So every year we try to raise a good offspring and raise them. Typically what we do is we take another leased facility, sir, where a lot of attention is not needed. So we any calves that go over an year, we send about 30 or so of those calves into a different place where one labor or one or two people can actually take care of them, raise them for the next 2 years where there is ample amount of feed. We send them there, we let them grow for the next 2 years. A veterinary doctor goes and visits it. And once they come to 3+ of years age, they're impregnated and hopefully, they come to milking stage where we can sell them.
How we can compare this model with, say, is there any comparison can be done with the buffaloes? Same number of buffaloes or say same number of cows. So what can be the most profitable? Whether cows will be more profitable or buffalo will be more profitable?
Sir, we do a mixed model, sir, for us. So with cows, I mean, they get to insemination in a much quicker time. So within 3 years, you can actually, if you take good care of your calves, I mean, within 3 years, you can get a cow that can be sold. Whereas for buffaloes, it takes an additional year. But obviously, buffaloes are much, you can get a better price for a buffalo. Even a male buffalo today commands a very good price. We sort of do an integrated thing, sir. We believe an integrated farm is better rather than just taking one activity. Cow, milk sale supplements this business also. So we would advise, to pick up all these activities together rather than doing one activity, sir.
So what can be the best combination? So this much of cows and this much of buffaloes?
I would say start with a 20 cow and a 10 buffalo combination. I would advise that is a good combination to start with, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So you mentioned about you are using Ajola for our cows, right, sir?
Yes, sir.
So can you please elaborate on the quantities you need to give, and are you giving it in from pond directly or are you drying it? Can you please elaborate on it, sir?
Yes, sir. So, each pond gives us. So the way we do it is we start with a small amount of seed first and put it in the pond. First time it takes about 15 days for the entire pond to get populated. After that, we take only 50% of it out. Okay, and if you take only 50% of the pond out, within 3 days it gets filled again. Right. So this is the practice we do, and we do not dry it, sir. So what we do is we take this Ajola out of the pond and we wash it with water. Once we collected enough, then we start giving it to the animals. We add a little bit of concentrated feed, dana, so that the animal initially, if it has some reluctance, because this has a greenish taste. Initially, the animal has a little bit of reluctance. It gets some getting used to, but we don't dry it, sir. We give it in a wet form only, but we wash it with water. And the reason we do it is also because the input material for Ajola is a little bit of soil and a little bit of cow dung, right? That is where it gets its minerals needed for growing. So when you're starting the pond, you take a little bit of soil. a little bit of cow dung, you mix it up together, and then you fill the pond with water, and then you put a little bit of seed.
Okay, sir. So a couple of quick questions. So when you are doing, working with the farmers, you would like to help them to set up a small scale setup dairy. What could be the initial costs, sir, for them?
Sir, so a cow today, a crossbreed cow today in Hyderabad area costs around 60 to 65,000. This is a cow that gives about 20 liters of milk per day. Buffalo that gives about 10 liters of milk costs about a lakh today, anywhere from 80,000 to 1 lakh today. So that constitutes the bulk of the cost of setting up a dairy farm, sir. The rest of the things can be managed within 4 to 5 lakh rupees. But animals constitute the biggest cost. So I would start with based on the size of the dairy farm that you want to do. I would start with that. The important aspect is finding a market for your milk, sir, first. First be sure about what you want to do with the milk. When I say this, right, for a small marginal farmer, the economics are different, sir. And for a dairy entrepreneur who wants to start this as a new activity, right, the economics are different. The reason I say that is for a small marginal farmer that has already been doing this, right, he's already optimized his costs, right? For example, he does not compute his salary. He does the milking on his own. So for him, if you give a fair price, if you give a good price, typically it works out for a small farmer, the farmer that has anywhere from two animals to 10 animals, it works out, sir, because his grass growing costs are already optimized. He does it almost at a zero cost, right? So it is another allied activity. He's not looking at it as a primary activity. So he is looking at this as a shit money, right, for doing his city or it works. But if you're looking as an entrepreneur that wants to do 20-30 animals where ultimately you won't be milking, the economics are slightly different. So that's when you need to look at the business model, write the business model, and plan your costs.
Sir, this is Dr. Shweta from Bangalore. Sir, it was very impressive enterprise diversification from the SIG farm actually. So I would like to appreciate him. And I have one important question is, what are the major hurdles you have faced in this venture, sir? Can you throw some light on the hurdles?
In the early part of our dairy farm, we said we'll sell our milk direct to customers, right? So that is a thing, that is easier said than done, right? So, when we started, we used to wake up at 4 in the morning, right? I tell this story to everybody, 4 in the morning, because, 4 to 5, we used to milk our cows and buffaloes. And from 5 to 5:30, we used to hand packet our milk, right? 5:30, our vehicle used to go to the city to deliver it to our customers. When our milk sale increased a little bit, that 4 became 3:30, 3:30 became 3, 3 became 2:30, 2:30 became 2. So we were waking up really early in the morning, right? To be able to deliver, the milk to our customers on time, right? So then we decided, that's when we went back and said, if we do this, our people itself, people are waking up at 1:30 in the morning every day. It'll burn every bit. That's when we said we'll invest in a good chilling system, right? Then education was also needed, right? Customers typically want raw milk, right? That is, I think, they think raw milk is good. That's when we had to go back, educate them, saying that, we can still do good milk, right? And that's when we started testing milk, right? We would send testing kits to our customers' house and tell them, our milk passes all these tests, right? We test for urea, sugar, starch, glucose, hydrogen peroxide, baking soda. And that is how we won the confidence of customers, right? Even though the milk is, people feel, there's a misconception saying that if the milk is in a packet, some preservative is there, right? It is not true, right? Your milk, how easily it can split, it is also that versatile, right? Milk can stay even for 15 days without splitting if you keep it in the right conditions. So that there's a lot of education. That is how you're winning the trust of customer, that takes that time. And we were able to educate and, get this thing. There are all the regular problems, ma'am. First time when we started to wanted to sell our milk, we were hit with FMD. We thought we did vaccination and all that, but suddenly our milk production, in a span of week went from 100 liters to 20 liters, right? So we had to, good veterinary care is important. So we learned that the hard way. So those lessons are always there. Solving problems with labor management. All of our lessons were learned in a way listening to people, right? So listening is very important part of an entrepreneur. When we had our first problem with people, right? A lot of people get worried about how do you manage labor, right? So we did have initial issues with labor. One day they said all of them said they'll leave, right? They were sort of threatening us to see how we will survive the labor issue. What we did was, that's when we invited our farmers in our village first, right? We said, can you milk your cows and come and milk our animals also, right? And they were gracious enough to come and help us. And that is how our association with farmers started, right? They milked our cows. We went through that battle, right? So we didn't have issues after that with labor, because they know if they don't do it, somebody else will come and milk our animals. And as a learning thing, that's when we said, we will start taking farmers' milk as well, right? Because these guys said, why don't you take our milk as well and give us a fair price? And that is how our journey with farmers also started.
As you also mentioned already, I think inherently you also spoke about how important it is marketing. It's not just about, because production is there from multiple point of view with the different qualities. You are being projecting as a kind of a premium milk in the market. There are so many state-led initiatives like Amul's, Vijaya's, so respect to Milma's or respect to Nandini's, respect to state government. How do you differentiate your brand in the market, and what kind of suggestions you give to fellow entrepreneurs or our officers today, so that they can also guide their farmers at their ground level?
There are no shortcuts in this, sir. So what I would advise is, right, as an entrepreneur, once you put your effort of solving that issue, right? For example, that one question was, once you are convinced that you're doing the right thing and you're solving a particular problem and you're providing that value to the consumer, right? The value that we provide, that we strongly believe in, that I strongly believe, is we provide 100% pure milk. We are confident of that every day, right? When you ask me this question, that energy in me comes, right? So if every entrepreneur feels strongly about his product, right, marketing happens automatically, because you have to, if you have to make your whatever you're creating win, right, you have to market it, you have to sell it, right? Whether you sell it on the street side, whether you go to the customer, convince him, right, that you are providing him good value, right? And I think it comes automatically. Obviously, I think you need to figure it out, but go out there. If you believe what you're doing is right, you will get the energy to go sell it and market it.
We will share all the details of Mr. Kishore also. You can contact him. And thank you very much, Kishore. Always it is exciting to listen to you. And on behalf of Manage, always we wish you'll grow big way and support large number of consumers and others. You make dairy entire value chain become more and more very scientific or very quality one. Adulterated milk is the biggest problem. Milk may be one of the much abused commodity, because everywhere water, very difficult. I don't know, when you supply to Kismatpur area in Hyderabad, I don't know, I'm waiting for it actually, because it's very difficult to get good quality milk, and that is across the country, it is the problem actually. People like you, startups should come, and also they need to support the farmers, because always farmers will get the very less price in the villages everywhere, and they need to, many dairies and others like startups like you need to share more profit towards with the farmers. It is not only startups are gaining, but farmers need to be given a much more better profit for every day's work. Thank you very much. We are very happy to today you are here, and very happy. And your session may be very inspiring, because dairy is one of the common activity across the country. Large number of small and marginal farmers are doing. They can do some of the take-home messages they may take from your own session. They will do it. Thank you very much, Kishore, for joining with us. Thank you very much.